Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon: A Child of Fire Part 1. Gosh, that's a long title. Has finally arrived on Netflix and I want to talk about it. Let's get into my thoughts. Hello, my name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo. I am a lover of all things nail polish, movies, TV shows, all sorts of things. My hope is that you come to my channel, find something that you love, and hit the subscribe button because I would love to have you. So, Zack Snyder's long awaited, is it long awaited? I think I saw a trailer for this a while ago. Rebel Moon arrives on Netflix. It is a original film. I use the air quotes because I feel like it's really difficult to be genuinely original by today's standards. I think if you are inspired by something else, does that make your concept genuinely original? And I think this is heavily inspired by several different things, but Star Wars comes to mind the most. So I don't really know if that could be constitute as genuinely original, but I think in the span of what most people consider to be original, this is original in the sense that it doesn't belong to a book series or a television show. It's never been done before. So this is a sci-fi picture. So how would I describe this movie in terms of the style? It's like a sci-fi, I mean, it's not really steampunk. It's like sci-fi meets, well, I mean, it's very Zack Snyder. It's his movie, but it's very, I think Zack Snyder is the best way to describe this in terms of like the saturation. So it's a sci-fi Zack Snyder film, and this is part one of two. So it's a two-part movie series. And I guess there's a rated R version being made of this movie coming out early next year. Okay. So I wish I liked this movie more, and I feel like I have a lot of problems with it. And my main thing, if I had to boil it down, is I feel like this would have been much better as like a mini series. I totally get if you don't want to make like a consistent series, like, okay, we're going to do 5 seasons. But the fact that Netflix greenlit 2 movies, a secondary version of the first movie, and potentially that for the second movie, I mean, I don't know, give them another $10 million, make like 7 episodes. And I think that would have helped a lot because there are so many characters in this movie, and I genuinely don't care about most of them because the way they get introduced is like they're either looking for them or they're on a side mission. I don't even remember what some of their names are, and you don't get a backstory for that person. Like Sophia Botella, whose name is like Arthalis. It's a really complicated name to pronounce. Well, I suppose if I spelled it, it wouldn't be super complicated, but like the way that it's spoken, it just doesn't roll off the tongue naturally. She's the character that I'm most invested in, which makes sense. She's basically the lead main character, and she's the one who gets the most backstory in this movie. So she's the person that I am connected to the most. Everybody else, I don't give a fuck about. I don't even know what some of their names are, like I said, because you don't have any context for like who they are. As an example, they go to a planet and they go for like General Titus, and outside of like expositing like what he did, I don't know any of that. I don't know who he is. He's played by Daimon Hansu, who's like always relegated to these side roles, even though he's such a great actor. And I don't care about him. He's there. There's a lady who she's Asian, and I like her quite a bit. I don't even know what her name is. I don't even remember them saying. She's the one who defeats the spider lady who's stealing babies, which I'm kind of interested to know more about that story, but we don't get anything else about that. But you know, basically, I'd say like 2/3 of this movie is going to a place to get somebody and then going to the next place. And to me, it's wild because essentially you have the motherland. Is it the motherland? No, the mother, is it the, maybe it's the mother world. Sorry, it's the mother world. So you have the mother world, which is basically the empire in this movie. They have absolute power. You know, this is a galactic society, so there's multiple planets in this society. And the mother world is this very, you know, like I said, it's the galactic superpower. It's essentially the empire. And basically, Sophia Boutella's character has, it's unclear how she did this, but she somehow ran away from the society. She settled on a world, I believe, called Velt, with a bunch of farmers who farm grain. And basically, after her being there for a couple years, the mother world comes there. So there's another guy who's with her. I don't actually remember his name, but the guy who goes with her from the town, he was selling grain on the side to the rebels to keep them fed. The mother world comes to this world to get grain for their own soldiers, and they already know that they've been selling grain on the side. First off, the way that the movie plays out, it makes it seem like this singular planet is like responsible for like a significant portion of food in the galaxy, but that can't be true, because even though this is a whole planet, we're only focusing on one village on this planet, which has, from my vantage point, from what I could recall, maybe like a couple hundred people. So I don't even know why the mother world would be so interested in this singular village. Like, you can get grain from anywhere, but anyway, they just happen to come to the village where their disgraced surrogate daughter of the leader of the mother world is, and no one recognizes her. Essentially what happens, I don't want to spend too much time like breaking down the movie like shot for shot, but basically what happens is the admiral, I don't remember his name either, so the admiral kills the leader of the village and is like, you guys better produce all the grain that I need for my troops, which would leave them with next to nothing, and they have 10 weeks to do it. So they leave a camp of soldiers there. Those soldiers are mostly terrible people except for one, and they were going to do some terrible things to a very innocent village girl. This causes Sophia Boutella to stop her quest of running away. She goes and she kills all of them except the one good guy. And then that sets her on a quest, because now she's put in motion a series of events where the mother world, when they do come back, they're going to realize their men are killed, and now the villagers are going to have to fight. I have so many questions. First off, are you telling me that they installed a team of what looked like 15 to 20 Marines? I'm saying Marines because I don't really know like the type of military they have, or like what they call them, but they install these people here on the village, probably to make sure that they're doing their job. And are you saying the mother world is never going to check back in with them? Because that's essentially what the movie is saying. They're just like, okay, they killed these people, so we've got 10 weeks to go recruit a team, and then we can come back and fight. What? Do you really have 10 weeks? Like, why would they not check back in with them? But they don't check back in with them. So she goes on a quest to find people to fight for a singular village on one planet against the world's superpower, which is the Empire. The fact that anybody comes back with her literally doesn't make any sense to me, because this village doesn't really have any money. They just have grain. So if I were the people that she came to, why the fuck would I come back and help your village for no money, to literally risk my life? But people say yes, and I don't understand why. Where's the first place they go? So they meet Charlie Hunnam's character. I don't remember what his name is either. I guess he's like a facilitator, because he hears they were looking for something. They were looking for General Titus, but they don't go to Titus first. He takes them to someone else who would know about Titus, which is where they meet what I'm going to call the Griffin Wrangler. I think I heard him say his name was Derek, but that seems like such a generic name for this world. But he's the Griffin Wrangler. And I kind of laughed at this. Not him wrangling the Griffin. Well, a little bit him wrangling the Griffin. But they weren't there to get him. They were there to get information about Titus, which they got. And he gained his freedom by taming the Griffin like the guy asked him to. And he just goes with them. And I'm thinking, does he give you a skill set that you need? Anyway, they don't go to Titus yet, though. They go to someone else, the Lady in Black. So they go to the Lady in Black, who's fighting the Spider Woman, who she also agrees to help them. Again, no money, a one village. Not only that, I don't really understand, right? So if Sofia Boutella knows that the mother world is not going to come back and check on the villagers at least for 10 weeks, and would it not make more sense to just relocate the villagers to another planet? Right? Like, they don't know their soldiers are dead. They're not going to find out for 10 weeks. You can relocate them to a planet that's so far away Motherland won't find them. But nope, she's like, we gotta stay and fight so that she can endanger innocent people's lives to fight, which from my vantage point seems like a really pointless battle. But what else happens? We find King Leviticus, don't know who he is, doesn't matter, he dies. And then you have Ray Fisher, tragically wasted in this movie. There's just so many people in this movie, and like I said, I don't care about any of them. I just, the odd thing is too, is like this movie's like 2 hours and 15 minutes and it spends most of its time introducing people without giving them backstories. And it's almost like the movie has nothing, like nothing happens in this movie, but it feels like a lot happens, but realistically, not a lot really does happen, right? Because we get all these people, they get backstabbed by one of the people. It doesn't really have the weight to it because we were only just introduced to him like an hour ago before he does the backstabbing. And to be fair, he doesn't really have any loyalty to them. So, and they prevail, but not without losing some people that I genuinely don't care about. And then they go back to Velt. I really wish I liked this movie, but I don't. I think the writing it's pretty mediocre, if you will. And I think if this had been spaced out over like 5 or 6 hours, right? Like if they had done like a 7-part miniseries, right? Because like I said, if Netflix is going to sit here and greenlight 3 different movies, not sure why they can't give them, a little bit more money and make it like a series. If they had done that, they could introduce people across like different episodes and really give us some backstory about them. I'm not invested in anybody but Sofia Boutella. That doesn't really bode well when you're trying to get like a team ensemble movie going on, but you're not investing in it and explaining who anybody is outside of like getting a couple of like expository paragraphs. So I don't really want to watch the second part, but I probably will. And I just wish I liked this more. And then I think on top of it, Zack Snyder has always kind of been very hit and miss for me personally. I actually really like him as a person. I've listened to him do interviews before, and he seems like a really nice, down-to-earth person. But in terms of his movies, he has a very distinct and specific style, which is fine. Sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't like that. It really depends on what he's trying to adapt. And sometimes he goes the route of this like slow-mo action, which is what he did in this movie. But then when you have Man of Steel, he didn't really focus on that type of action. So for me, I don't mind a little bit of slow-mo action, but I swear to God, it's in every single fight scene. And it's like every few seconds that it slows down. I hate it. It's so distracting to me. I just can't even tell if the choreo is good. So that's kind of my thoughts on Rebel Moon. Also, this is probably, nobody cares about this but me, but I really like to understand where things are geographically so that I can understand like where they take place, because the movie doesn't tell you how much time is passing. Like they tell you at the beginning, they basically have 10 weeks before the mother world comes back for grain. But outside of that, you have no idea how long it takes them to get from point A to B. I don't know if they use hyperspace, because the movie doesn't actually show you space. It will show you a planet and it will tell you where you are, which literally means nothing to me. And that's kind of it, right? You have no understanding of like where this planet is in relation to where they just came from, how far away it is from Velt, which is their home base. You know what I mean? Like when you're watching Star Wars establishes this. Like they'll usually show you them going into hyperspace and they're coming in from the planet, and to me that explains to me that like wherever they're going is pretty far away, that they have to jump into hyperspace, right? So I'm not saying that he would have needed something like that, And most people probably don't care, but like for me, I like to understand geographically where things are, right? Like when it comes to Game of Thrones, in the beginning when I started watching it, I used to look at the map because I could never understand like where things are, like in relation to each other. And I like to do that so that I can understand it. So for me, they're not establishing anything. They just jump from location to location, and there's no concept of how long it takes them to get from point A to B or where they get this money from. They come from Velt, which is a poor planet, and they just sell grain. So, like, I would imagine that fuel costs money, but they have enough money to hop around the galaxy and bring in extra people on as they do it. So my thoughts on Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. I think it is equally, there's so many characters. Sorry. I think there's so many characters, they overstuff the movie and you don't get any background about them. So there's really no depth to those characters outside of like Sofia Boutella. I think the action, it's really hard for me to tell if it's good or not because, you know, it's all done in this sort of slow-mo style, which I will admit I hate. I do like what Zack Snyder did in like Man of Steel, but he's not using any of that action in here. I don't really love this. I don't want to say I hate it because hate's so strong, but like I will not pick up to watch this again. And I'm quite surprised that he was able to get such a stacked cast to sign on to this script. You know, I'd be really interested to know how actors really feel, right? Because you have what they say, but they're promoting the movie, which is part of their contract, and they can't shit on the movie and be like, this is fucking terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, I wonder as an actor if you ever sign on for something, you know, you're really excited because the script is really good, and then you go into filming it, and then you see the finished product, and it's totally different than what you thought, that what you talked about. Love to know how actors feel about the finished product of a movie. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Rebel Moon. You guys let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the movie. You can visit me on my socials, which are in my description. Thank you for watching. Catch you later.